Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Mohammed Butchri, and in today's tutorial we're actually continuing from where we left off. So today we're actually going to see how we can handle, we will actually do form validation. Okay, so this is actually saving the information without doing any form validation. So even if we send an invalid email, that gets saved inside our database, and that is not how we want to run things. So inside our app, we're actually going to create a file called forms.py, right? And inside forms.py, I want to import, so from Django, I want to import forms. And I'm going to create a class that has the same attribute just as this particular reporter. And I'm going to call that class reporter form. So let's go ahead and create this class, reporter form. Now pass the forms.form in there. Okay, so inside the reporter form we have like full name, which is a child field, and then an email, which is an email field. So we'll do the same thing here, forms email field 100. So let's save this, and then inside our view, right, inside our view, let's import that. So from forms.forms we want to import reporter form. Now when we send a JSON, let's clear this out. When we send a JSON, we'll do reporter form goes to the reporter form, and it will pass the body in there. Okay, so after we grab the request body and we've passed it through the JSON.load, we'll pass that information to our form. Likewise, if we send the information using form data, we'll do same. So here we'll say reporter form goes to request.post. Okay, so here for instance we'll say return JSON response. I want to pass the form data, and just to be on the safer side, let's pass save as false. Okay, we pass save as false because if you don't pass save as false, then that means this particular information must always be what? A dictionary. But if we want to pass a list of dictionary, the save must always be false. Okay, so down over here we also return, for instance, return same thing. Okay, false. So if we save this and we make our request, okay, our post request, now I'm going to use the form data. Okay, if we send this, we get the same information. If we use the JSON, we realize that this particular email is not a valid email. So what happens? If we send this, we get that, right? But this is without the validation. So let's do the validation. So we'll say if, for instance, instead of us returning the body like this immediately, we'll do if the reporter form dot is valid, then we want to return this. Okay, else maybe we want to print an error. Okay, so we want to return JSON, and instead of this we'll just return error, invalid, something like that. Okay, so just come down here, do if the reporter form is valid, we want to return the data that we got in the form, else return error as invalid. So let's go ahead and let's try this. So realize that if I send using the form, I get the information back. But if I send using JSON with this invalid email, I get what? Invalid error. And we are getting the invalid error because the email that we sent is what? Is an invalid email. So now, I've already written this function, and genuinely, to be honest with you, I don't have time to actually explain this code, but I will. So we are calling this what? The request what? The error message. We are passing the form in there, okay? And we are checking. So if for every field inside the form, if there is an error in there, we want to append to the string the field name and then the error, okay? And then we'll later check whether this particular field error is empty. So if the length is greater than what? 1, we want to just output or return the information in there, okay, as message. Else want to do this, else want to do that. Like I said, I don't have time to explain this, but just write this code for yourself, okay? I'm going to close this without saving. For now, let me cancel it and ensure that I've copied it. So let me copy it, and I'll head to the form, and down here I'll actually paste that code there, okay, and save it. And then I can actually delete this code. Don't save it. Good. So we have this code inside our forms, okay? We have this code inside our forms. You see the purpose of it. So inside our view, like I'm saying, you can pause the video and actually write this code, okay? Now inside our view, we'll import that particular function. So at the forms, we want to import error message, okay, which is a function. So here we are checking if the form data that we got, if it's valid, we want to return this. Else, instead of us returning this, we'll say message, for instance, message is equal to then error message, and then we'll pass the reporter form in there, okay? So instead of writing invalid, we'll rather pass the message in here. And then we're actually going to do the same thing down here. So we say message goes to error message, and I'll pass the reporter form in there, okay? And then instead of invalid, we pass the message. So if we save this and then we head over to our Tender client, if I fire this using the JSON with the invalid email, we get this error message which says at the email section, enter a valid email. If we go to the form which has the valid email, if we send this, we get back the information we sent. If I remove my name from there and I send, we get what? Full name. This field is what is required. So this is how you do your form validation, and this is why it is important for you to validate your form before you save the data inside the database. So in the next tutorial, we'll look at how we can save this particular clean data inside our database. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.